On today's show, the Capitals will be without Alex Ovechkin for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minute Cast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the Capitals as they prepare to be without the services of Alex Ovechkin for the next 4 to 6 weeks. What does that mean for the Capitals? Oftentimes we speculate on the show what this team will look like in the post-Ovechkin era. We're going to get a real good glimpse on what that's going to look like in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll talk about how Pierre-Luc Dubois looks to take on a bigger role as he did tonight in the Capitals' loss against the Avalanche. And then in the final segment, that despite the loss to the Avs, that Logan Thompson was huge yet again. But just to get it going here, that was the big news that broke this evening. Is that Alex Ovechkin will be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And, you take a look at it. Some people are like, oh my God, this is an end of the world scenario. For me, I'm good with knowing. At least I know that I know how much time he's going to be out. The Capitals will not have him on this team for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So move on. It's not going to be an option. We don't need to ask Spencer Carbery at every morning skate and post-game conference about, hey, when is Alex Ovechkin going to come back? Don't even ask until it gets closer to that. I don't think the press will ultimately be able to resist that urge, but that's where the Capitals are at. And for me, this is a good test. Like I talked about earlier there, that we're going to get a good glimpse at what this team is made of minus Alex Ovechkin. And a crazy thought that, everyone's like, how are the Capitals going to cope without their captain? I get all of that. But Alex Ovechkin is only under contract this season and next season. And that very well could be the end of the Alex Ovechkin era. And to be clear here, things are going to change. Ryan Leonard will most likely be on the team, perhaps Andrew Crystal, along with various other players that might either have stepped up or new acquired players. But it is a good opportunity to see what this team is made of minus Alex Ovechkin. And to be clear here, of course, I would rather have Ovi here. But if I'm going to make some lemonade out of these lemons, I'm going to do just that in the fact of seeing how is this team built minus the great 8. And tonight, even with Ovechkin in there, they might have won the game. But the game tonight was a bit of a stalemate, kind of a chess match, if you will. And I'll break that down a little bit later in the show. But just looking at this team and what is the latest with the grade 8. So that was the news, like I said, 4 to 6 weeks. And this is ultimately uncharted territory for the Capitals, as we rarely go a season without him on the ice. Never a season without him on the ice. Little fragments of time here and there where he's not going to be here. And I guess another good case about all this, or, a good scenario, is that it wasn't a knee injury, that sometimes, that could be the end of his entire season. Maybe Alex Ovechkin will come back next season. It's not that case. It is that lower leg injury that he's going to be out 4 to 6. Can he still catch and pass Gretzky? I still think it's possible. It's going to get a little bit tight, I'm not going to say that it is in fact going to happen because we don't know what kind of production he's going to get when he makes his return, but that is what we know right now. And throughout his 20-year career, Ovechkin has only missed 59 games, and a whopping 35 of those were due to injury. So he is truly that Russian machine that never breaks. And, it's a crazy thing. Alex Ovechkin has played through tremendous injury in his career. That you knew that when he was hobbled around and just had that grimacing look on his face, that it was really, really bad. The longest he's ever been out was 6 games. So this is a big deal for the Capitals. But again, next man up. And who's the next man up? Andrew Mangiapane is taking his place. And then Alexei Protas is going to move over to the right side. You saw LaPierre get introduced back into the mix, except playing on the wing with Eller at center. And Miroshnichenko did not draw in tonight. I don't usually like to second guess Spencer Carbery, but I'll talk about the game and how it was laid out a bit later in the game. So thankfully, the good thing is that he won't need surgery. But this, like I said, will definitely be a test of the depth of the Capitals and the resilience as a team. And, I've spoke about this quite a bit on different podcasts, that I think this team is built to be resilient. There is still a strong leadership core on this team with what I still believe is the future captain of this team, Tom Wilson. I think for one player to really take the reins and prove his leadership qualities, that he is in fact worthy of that next captaincy, is that if he can take on and show some leadership above and beyond what he has shown so far. And also John Carlson and Nick Dowd and Dylan Strome and the voices that have been big in the locker room. And it's interesting, Tom Wilson, I was watching the video before the game, and it's just almost somber and sad that, Alex Ovechkin is the ringleader before the Capitals take to the ice, revving them up, saying some goofy things to get the guys all revved up. That he's not there. And it definitely leaves a void out there. And it's difficult, as some of the Capitals players almost looked like they were going to get emotional about it. And it's tough. Alex Ovechkin has been a steady presence on this team for years. Despite his, statistics and what he's accomplished, he is the heartbeat of this team. Make no mistake about it. But like I said, this is a keen opportunity for Wilson, Carlson, these kind of players to make their voices heard and take on a more of a leadership role. And Tom Wilson does that. But like I say, this is a good opportunity to prove that he is worthy of being the next captain of the team. And it's a hard thing for Ovi, as he was on such a record season at 39 years old, playing his best hockey, if you can believe that. And before the injury, Ovi was on fire. At 39 years old, he was having his best season yet, leading the NHL with 15 goals in just 18 games. Oftentimes, we say that the young players, that you can't really compete with the likes of the younger guys in the league. Well, Alex Ovechkin is defying all sorts of odds before the injury, leading the NHL in goals. Now, let's not forget the chase for Wayne Gretzky's all-time scoring record was heating up, with Ovi just 27 goals away from surpassing him. So 27 goals, the rumor is that it'll be, or the speculation is it'll be shortly after Christmas. Is that when he'll make his return? Is it possible that he can catch and pass Gretzky? Sure. But like I said, I think it's going to be tight. He's really going to have to pour it on. And I don't think he really needs to put that pressure on. That is our expectations that we've placed on Alex Ovechkin. If it takes another season, so be it. As long as he does it, I'm not too concerned about it. But, it does draw into question injury. How devastating would this have been if he was 5 goals short and got injured, and that was towards the end of the season, that he really needs to make hay while the sun shines once he comes back to try to catch as soon as possible. Again, I don't want to put any unrealistic expectations, but just try to be, a cognizant of it and realize that there's not a lot of runway under your current contract. But now it's all going to have to go on pause. That pursuit is going to have to go on pause, and the Capitals will need to concentrate not on their captain catching and passing Gretzky, but winning hockey games in his absence. So if you are a casual Capitals fan or, maybe new to following the Capitals, I will tell you what happened. Ovechkin sustained his injury during a game in Utah where he dazzled us with 2 goals coming off a hat trick before that. This was truly the land of milk and honey as far as Alex Ovechkin is concerned. It was almost like a fever dream, like my perfect scenario in the offseason. Ask me what the perfect scenario is. Alex Ovechkin scores goals. The Capitals are playing really great hockey. I woke up and Alex Ovechkin is injured and reality sinks in. And that's where we're at right now. And it's a tough thing. McBain, again, I don't want it to look like it was purposeful. I don't think it was. I think it was reckless, but I don't think it was the case. And it was a thrilling performance until he collided with Jack McBain and fell to the ice. Tough moment. And what did Tom Wilson do? The sheriff, he answered the bell by saying, "You took down our captain. You're going to have to answer to the sheriff." And he took out a pound of flesh on McBain, and ultimately, I think, was the right thing to do. But as far as Alex Ovechkin, he needed assistance to get off the ice. But thankfully, the medical evaluations have confirmed that the injury is not season-ending. Again, Capitals fans, we need to hold on to positivity. It could have been worse. 4-6 sucks. To speak quite candidly with you, but it could be far worse. If we would have found out that it was a knee injury and he missed the rest of the season, that would have been far worse. But still, the timeline for his return is a bit cloudy. 4-6 is a bit ambiguous. We talk about what Spencer Carbery said on the Junkies show in DC. And, he said that, week to week, and it's going to be a bit. I don't like, being ambiguous about these kind of things. I like more of a definitive answer. And while 4 to 6 weeks is not going to tell us exactly when he's going to return, at least in our mind's eye, that's more realistic than it's going to be a bit and week to week. But the team response as the Caps adjust to life without Ovi. Head coach Spencer Carbery has been stressing the importance of keeping our energy and focus high in practices. And I don't think the Capitals made any real blunders tonight. I think they brought their A game, and I think that they adapted rather well in his absence. But that is what the Capitals are going to have to do, is to try to fill the shoes of one of the greatest to ever do it. And you can feel the void of Ovechkin's leadership, but the team is rallying together. It's I think it's crucial to maintain the team spirit. I think that, like I say, there's great leaders on the team, and this is their time to step up, especially during this challenging stretch, as the Capitals are doing very well in the standings, and I don't want them to lose any ground just because Ovechkin is not on the team. So let's talk about the depth and leadership. Now, here's the silver lining. The Capitals, I touched on this earlier, have a lot of depth and talent on the roster. Currently, the Capitals are leading the Eastern Conference in holding the highest goals per game average in the NHL. This is not just about the Alex Ovechkin show. We're going to miss him for sure, but this team can stand on its own 2 feet and is doing really, really well. And how are they getting it done? Players like Dylan Strome and Connor McMichael are stepping up and playing huge, with Strome as one of the league's scoring leaders at 28 points. That was before the game. So quite an evening for the Capitals, and finding a way to overcome and trying to fill the void minus Ovechkin. And the defense. The defense is up to the challenge as well, featuring John Carlson and Jakob Chychrun. Both of those players have been pivotal as well. And, it's not just that. I'm just kind of going over the players that are going to be the players that help fill the void minus Ovechkin. Let's not forget about the strong leadership. Wilson, Carlson, Dowd are working hard to keep the morale high in the locker room. While it's going to be tough, it is going to be to push through this period without Ovechkin. I think the Capitals have the tools to keep moving forward and compete at a high level. So I think that, again, it's a tough pill to swallow, of course, minus Alex Ovechkin leading the NHL and a guy that can score goals on demand. But the Capitals, they're going to have to find a way to overcome. There is no other choice. All right, so coming up here straight ahead, we'll talk about the big evening for Pierre-Luc Dubois. If there's one player that really needs to take on a bigger role, it is Pierre-Luc Dubois, and I think he is poised to do just that. I'll discuss straight ahead. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. And there is a lot of football that's played on any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, and some of those games you're more into and some of them you're not. Put a little bit of money on the game on the FanDuel app, and all of a sudden, those games got that much more exciting. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Filter out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And that is one of the frustrating things when you're looking for tickets is finding the best deals. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals, and that is why I love Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team. Every day you can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So in this next segment here, we're talking about the Capitals and the game tonight. Again, minus Alex Ovechkin, broken bone, fibula, not an ideal situation. Again, I'm happy it's not a knee. But the Capitals facing a team, or the Capitals being a team minus their captain, there is a lot to overcome. So the question is that who is going to be the player to help fill the void? One of those players in particular is Pierre-Luc Dubois. This was a player that came to this team in a trade that sent Darcy Kemper out to the Kings that was met with quite a bit of skepticism. And I just did a podcast here recently called the Puck Podcast, and some of those guys on that show are from the Los Angeles area, and they said, how do you like that PLD guy? And I think I got what they were getting at, that, I heard a lot of negativity about him, that, he is what was said, the rumor mill out there was that he wasn't good in the locker room and that he seemed disinterested in the teams that he played on before. They were happy to be rid of him. But I gave my honest assessment, and I said I think he has been huge for the Capitals, even before the Alex Ovechkin injury, but even more so now. We saw him find the back of the net tonight, but for him, it's not all about scoring goals. Of course, we want him to pick up the slack in Ovechkin's absence, but he has really elevated the game of Connor McMichael and Tom Wilson on that line. I think he has been huge, not just for the team, but Connor McMichael in particular. And you saw him take on a bigger role tonight as well. But tonight, we saw the Caps go head-to-head against the Avalanche, and I was hoping that they could pick up another win, and it was a tough game without Ovechkin in the lineup for 4 to 6 weeks due to that broken leg, which I spoke of. The game ended in a narrow 2-1 loss. It wasn't a blowout, and if I'm going to be a bit of an honest assessor of the game, kind of boring. It was kind of a boring game. It's not often I have that type of assessment of a game, but there were not a lot of moments that had you on the edge of your seat. But Pierre-Luc Dubois was one of those guys that made it interesting. He stepped up and managed to score the only goal for the Capitals, but it wasn't enough to claim victory against a strong Avalanche team. It was a tough game, and this game in particular saw Georgiev between the pipes and was definitely a better option for the Avalanche than the last time the Capitals faced them. So taking a look at it in the spotlight on Dubois, now one bright spot in the game was definitely Pierre-Luc Dubois. He seemed to find his rhythm. That was the big thing. I think that he sees the moment, and I think that we will see his game grow by leaps and bounds, which was great to see. I think that, what we saw out there with Mangiapane on the first line, I think it's all tentative. I think that the script is going to be written in pencil, not in ink, because I think there's the possibility that players could get shuffled here and there. That includes Pierre-Luc Dubois. This was arguably his best match with the Caps so far. Again, he got assists, but finding the back of the net, and I think we saw just a glimpse of his true potential. He did a fantastic job, I would say, offensively and defensively, winning faceoffs and moving around the ice and carrying the puck confidently. That is something that isn't spoke of too often, is confidence. He is a big guy. He was drafted high. There's a reason that he has the reputation that he has, other than what we've heard on the other teams. He is a tremendous player, has been a tremendous player, and I have not lost the faith in him. I think that he still has been a huge piece for the Capitals, and I expect to see him play even a bigger role. His opening goal was a well-deserved highlight of the night, coming from a precise pass from Tom Wilson. Another player that I expect to see more of in Ovechkin's absence is Tom Wilson, as not just a goon, not a tough guy, a guy that can score goals. This marked his first goal in 12 games, and it's significant. First one against a goaltender this season, too. So you take a look at Pierre-Luc Dubois. Again, there's a lot of people out there that have negative opinions outside of the Capitals realm. I guess I'm one of the guys that I actually like his game. I don't have anything negative to say about his game. As far as the game, Dubois led the team with 3 shots on goal, and really has started to heat up. Again, I think that he has taken the challenge. I think he sees the lay of the land, that he is going to have to take on a bigger role. He's not a young guy. He is a younger guy, but he's not this new guy in the league, shall we say. This is a guy that knows how to answer the bell on the big stage, recording points in 5 of his last 6 games. I think he is really, truly starting to find his groove. And Spencer Carbery on the game as well, he said, let's talk about that. He said he really highlighted the need for the team to keep up their energy and urgency, especially in Ovi's absence. It was clear that the Avalanche brought their A game, particularly with top stars like Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar on the ice. So you can't win them all. And I'm not going to say that the Capitals are not going to be good minus Alex Ovechkin. I'm just going to say it's going to be more difficult. He scored 15 goals. Who is going to be the person that's going to make up that goal scoring? That's the question. I think they have the players out there to get it done. We're going to need to see more of Pierre-Luc Dubois, Tom Wilson, Mangiapane, Connor McMichael, these kind of players. That the potential is there. We just need to see a whole lot more from them. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about that. Despite the loss, that Logan Thompson was huge yet again. I'll discuss straight ahead. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the only really daily money fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineups live. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play your $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 bet. That's use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, so you can't win them all. And the Capitals fall tonight to the Avalanche. A tough game, all things considered, close. It wasn't like there was any glaring deficiencies. There was a couple really great scoring opportunities by Connor McMichael that wasn't able to find Twine, but they were generating opportunities, and this was a game that just saw the Avalanche be a better team, all things considered, and that is ultimately why they won. And oftentimes in these games, when you see wins and losses, you assume that the netminder on the team that lost, well, was horrible. That was not the case, as Logan Thompson was big despite the loss. And some people say, well, how could he play well if the team lost? He kept the Capitals in it, as I think the score could have been more in the Avalanche's favor had he not played such a big role. Despite the loss, he delivered a solid performance with 24 saves on 26 shots. The Capitals, well, they needed to generate some more offense. This can't rest solely on Logan Thompson's shoulders to win the games all the time. He made impressive stops against some big names like Cale Makar, Lehkonen, and Nathan MacKinnon. Some true firepower, and he answered the bell and was huge for the Capitals. The goals he faced came from unfortunate bounce and deflection, which were tough breaks. And that is sometimes the things that aren't factored in when you take a look at the score sheet, at the box score, is you just see how many goals allowed. You don't see the ones that were deflected and were tough breaks, defensive breakdowns, those kind of things. But overall, it's impressive that we managed to limit McKinnon's impact. He was held scoreless for the second time in 3 games against us. So a statement about the blue line for the Capitals and, well, for Logan Thompson as well. As we move forward in this challenging stretch without Ovechkin, we have to stay positive and support the team, and that includes the netminders as well. This team needs to bring their A game, just like Spencer Carbery said. They showcased resilience tonight, and we know that they'll keep fighting. And they'll be able to do that with the players, like I said, like Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren, who, all things considered, have been really big pieces for the Capitals this year. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes down the road. Does Spencer Carbery continue to alternate between Logan and Charlie in game to game, game after game? Or is there going to be a point in the season where they say, nope, that's our number one guy, and ride that out? Is it going to be Logan Thompson? Is it going to be Charlie Lindgren? Of course, I guess, Logan Thompson right now in November would be that favorite to be that guy, but it's still early. Inconsistent play, injuries, what lies around the corner, we don't know. It doesn't seem like it was too long ago that I was talking about how great Alex Ovechkin is doing, just so long that he can stay healthy. Capitals fans, let's realize this. There is going to be bumps. There's going to be ebbs and flows with this season, injuries, breakout seasons, all of it. It's the makings of a movie. each and every year for the Capitals. And let's just hope that this year the team can rise above. I think they have it intrinsically to be that kind of team. Big players that have answered the bell under the brightest lights on the biggest stage. The Capitals have done that, even minus their captain, who, let's be honest with you, when he retires will be the greatest goal scorer of all time. They still have that on this roster to battle against any team out there. We take a look at the schedule coming up here. It's not going to be too easy as we see the Devils, Panthers, Lightning, Islanders. It's going to be a lot of hockey in a short span of time. We got games Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The games are coming on the regular. The Capitals don't have a lot of time to lick their wounds and say, woe is me. What are we going to do without Alex Ovechkin? Like I talked about, to put a bow on this show, is the leadership core on this team is going to have to prove their worth. I'm talking about you, Tom Wilson, and I'm not talking necessarily about dropping the mitts. If that's what it calls for, fine. But I'm not the only one that said this. Tom Wilson, the future captain of this team, let's see that. Let's show that leadership quality and prove to everyone why you're that, and not just him. Like I've talked about, all the leadership core. Let's hope this team is capable of taking it to the next level, even minus Alex Ovechkin. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are ultimately what makes this show successful. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.